Showtime.
Do it.
I have a feeling.
Yo, Josh. Yo, it's going down. Okay.
Howdy, 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 howdy. Looks like it's dinner time over your side, or lunch hours then, but I guess it's probably not that loud. Hello, anyway, nice to meet you all. I don't recognize the faces, so nice to meet you. I'm Josh. I know Chris.
Yeah. So,
Who have we got here?
yeah, right. So Josh is speaking to us from Lisbon, Portugal at
That
the
is so
moment.
cool.
Yeah, we met getting into the Web3 space and seeing what was going on there. And
Huh.
I think for me, I'm super interested in like the local action stuff, and then he's been figuring out a lot of this like distributed cognition stuff.
Oh
So
my gosh.
we're hoping that we can find some ways to like work with like explicating methodologies amongst other ways of supporting like the things that we need to like be a good civilization or whatever. So we're into it. Josh and I have been collaborating in a lot of good ways. I'm glad that you're here because I think that there's like this whole like whatever we're doing here can definitely apply on a global scale, and like to have the global scale part of the conversation early on is interesting, right? We're centering our focus
Sure.
around the context of like what we're doing with our natural capital initiative here in Superior, and we have with this conscientious approach of like how we're working on it in a global way. So that's I think the set and setting in a way. Like I guess we're here at Leo's, and this is the place that
Oh, finally. I get Leo's.
yeah. Josh is following on our Discord server, and you can see like some things that we have going. We've done some open houses and things like that, and so we can talk about like what we're doing here with the place. But I mean, we're like in my mind, I'm picturing the productizing of what we're learning into some like small hardware unit that's going to be super awesome and effective.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah. So I think with that in mind,
I think there's probably, well, there's perhaps also the praxis side as well, the social processes and that kind of stuff. There's a note the lunar cycles as like practice-based methodology, for example. But yeah, anyway, Chris is articulating it well. It's how do we kind of surface the implicit values that we bring to the world, be that like commodities such as, you know, carbon and this kind of stuff, but more interestingly, the social and governance processes as well around whatever a collective's doing. And like if that can be articulated or made visible, then basically we can value regeneration in a kind of more holistic way, because the vast majority of ecological conservation is practice-based methodologies or smallholders working around with what they've got. And so the credits line is also pretty interesting. I'm not sure if I'm speaking with Michael, who I'm led to believe is Arduino guy. And so, yeah, we can definitely jam on that as well. That's super cool.
heck yeah, nice. Yeah, I think
Right.
what's yeah, thanks, brother. I think what's important is that we all feel real comfortable and happy to be here and can like bring out the creativity and the potential of who's all here together now.
I'm absolutely amazed. We're sitting here in this very cool space, in this tiny little bird, and having a global meeting. I mean,
Yes.
this is just,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, I really did make it to the 21st century.
Heck yeah.
Welcome to the future.
Yes.
I love it.
It turned out to be this. It's much better.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
Anyway,
That's
that's
nice
what I
to
have to
hear.
say.
That's nice to hear. And I think that really steps it up. Oh, speaking of global conversation, where's Rishi based out of?
It's best he speaks for himself if he's there.
Rishi! Gosh,
He's got internet connections. He's in India, but I'll let him triangulate his exact locations in a second.
So
Did
cool.
not connect to audio. There he is. There he is. Welcome, Rishi. Welcome.
Rishi!
This is global tech for you. Oh, you said something. Yeah, go, brother.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey guys.
We got you.
Richie.
Hey, I'm not sure what's happening, but I'm here to pick up and learn and play the fool.
All right, cool. Okay, then I think what we'll do is we'll center this conversation around what's happening here locally in Superior, and we'll make that the more of the monad, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Find that word.
Just like the arena in which we're focusing, like our unit of analysis, or like the whole in which we're talking about, with like
Let's do
Superior,
it.
Queen Creek
Act
watershed,
locally.
the live shed, whatever.
Chris,
Yeah.
I'm going to chuck up a Miro if that's all right.
Nice.
Yeah, you've just disabled screen sharing, so I'll just play around in a Miro board while we have the conversation. If you enable that, then I can put it on the screen as well.
Okay, you're co-host.
Woo!
Yeah.
Right on.
All right. Co-hosting.
Let me get in.
But if that's the focus, it's always good to know what our aims are, like what motivates us all to be here. Like our friend Dr. Carl Schwartz talks about like do you give a shit? Like obviously we give a shit enough to all be here together now. So like getting into putting words to like why we give a shit, what we give a shit about. It's a nice way for us to have an idea of what the potential is for us all to be here. Like I'm into it. I'm feeling it. Feels good. Maybe we can like if I know a little bit more about like what ecological niche you're playing, that helps like us all to know how we can work with each other. You know? So maybe we can share some of that stuff. Oh, look, Josh is mirroring. Thank God. That's sick. All right. Well, we can just go around in a talking circle. It's like a nice way to go. We have a protocol of doing gratitudes. We've done some today already. Josh and I in a call that we had, it was like an international digital campfire that we were just in.
Wow.
But I'm still feeling grateful, so I'm willing to do it again. Josh, how are you feeling? Are you up for that? Because you'd be the repeat with me here.
Yeah, I'm pretty grateful to be here, and I'm glad Rishi's showing up too. So yeah, I'm quite happy to jump in with you guys.
Cool. All right, kick us out with some gratitudes and pass it on, and we'll think.
Okay. So I'm grateful for my guitar. I've been learning a new song on that. It's just helped me be at peace with myself a little bit. I've been enjoying a groovy ass tune that I shared a little bit earlier with Chris and some other friends. I'm glad and grateful for Rishi's presence here, as well as the work that he's been doing on some of the projects that we've been working on together. Currently, he's playing around with composition and cool stuff like that on some cards. I'm grateful for the invitation here as well, Chris. And so I'm like really happy to meet everyone here, especially Michael, because I've said his name before. No offense to anybody else. It sounds like a really synergetic place that we could occupy. And so I'd be further grateful just to hear more about your local context in that regard. And I'm done. I'll pass to Rishi as the second digital person, because that will be then easy to move around the table without being digitally disruptive.
What are you grateful for, Rishi?
Let's see, I am grateful for the communication technology that's bringing us together, the internet and the cosmos and all that stuff. Grateful to be here, grateful to see all you guys, grateful to see that people are working on the hard problems and are ready, navigating through all this complexity. Yeah, and I'm grateful for my dad and mom for providing for me right now, and yeah, all that kind of stuff.
Nice.
Thank you. Do you want to pass it over to somebody at the table? There's no name tags there, I noticed, and we haven't actually had proper introductions yet.
Yeah.
My name is Miracle, and I'm grateful to, of course, be here. And the things that I've been talking about for years are finally coming to fruition. And even this meeting, of course, was like written in the stars a long time ago. I'm just super excited that I'm surrounded by people that support the ideas that I'm trying to bring forth, and everyone seems really enthusiastic about what we're all individually doing and how it could all come together into one big awesome project. Passing.
All right, catching it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Nice. I'm grateful for Superior, for the Queen Creek. I'm grateful for my mother's people, my father's people. I'm grateful for the birds, mariposa, all the guardian spirits, and all the ones who tended this land before us. I'm grateful for Providence. I'm grateful for good fortune. I'm grateful for good friends, and I'm grateful for groovy music.
Okay. Well, all of you people have already learned a key thing about me, because you probably have noticed I've spent the entire time putting food in my mouth.
Mhm.
Food oriented. So I'm grateful for the good food.
Nice. All
Start with
right.
that. I'm sorry you guys are missing out when you come to Superior.
You make me hungry.
A very nice burger.
They do. It's good.
And Chris picked out a really nice one with some kind of poblano or some
Yeah,
other
that's
chili
a
on
good
it.
one, yeah.
And Peggy and I, our term is we're homesteaders. We have a homestead. We're developing 10 acres of more or less wilderness land, in a more or less wilderness, about 60 miles or so from here. And we are putting in aquaponics and gardens and 2 little orchards, and we do a lot of wild food harvesting, wild food and medicinal plant. That's where Peggy is an expert. And my particular background is software and hardware. I did many years of factory floor automation stuff. And so I have started last year, or maybe the year before that. I talked for years about developing that for our homestead, and I finally started actually doing it. So I've developed a little line of Arduino-based devices that I intend to use for our irrigation and to monitor the temperature in our freezers and the water level in our tanks and the status of our front gate and every other little thing I can possibly think of, all networked and fed into databases and analyzed from 26 different directions and whatever we can do. The point being, I want to make these things really simple and really inexpensive and usable for people like, say, for example, a small community garden. Because it is about allowing a garden to be a little less labor intensive and a little more, a little better monitored.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to forget to note to over or underwater with standard irrigation.
There's so much
controls.
value in the monitoring.
Right.
And so our plan is we do a lot of teaching of we go to classes and teach people about wild food harvesting and other things like that. And we want our whole property to be a permaculture, aquaponics, wild food experiential learning center. And part of that is in spreading the word, is in spreading these little devices around. And of course, I intend that they make me money.
Yay!
Yes. And so I think every homesteader on earth is going to want some.
Yay!
And so I want to make, I more or less have decided to make the hardware open source and sell the software very inexpensively.
Nice. That is some great.
So that people who want to buy from us, the same people who buy Arduino brand Arduinos, are one group of people. And the people who want to throw together a little DIY jobby and then download my software that happens to already solve a lot of problems for them in terms of whatever it is they're doing. And as long as millions of people do that around the world, then we're going to be able to expand into more facilities and have a great time.
All right.
And I'll get involved.
Yeah.
Yada, yada,
Yes.
yada, yada, yada.
All right.
So that's it. So we're here to learn about the garden, this plan for here, and learn about what all's going on, and That's it. So we're grateful.
Okay, so I'm Peggy, also Peggy Sue at times, my public name, but and I am thankful that I first came to Superior, I think probably 8 years ago. And that I was brought here. I was drawn here because of the Prickly Pear Festival and the interest that they had in wild foods. And so I was part of a meeting back then to, discussion about having a second day Prickly Pear Festival, second day focused on wild foods. And, not everything pans out exactly the way, we want them to, but it's okay because I've been able to teach about wild foods at the Prickly Pear Festival, need a second day, and other people have as well. And, it's really, I think it's so important to get that message out to people in this day and time, because when I first started learning or started being drawn to the wild foods back in the early 90s, I had the desire because I felt like our food system was propped up, and if something, not any one of these props were knocked down, we would not have food to eat. And what would we eat? And so I very low key like to teach people what's around them and what's grown in their own yard that they don't recognize as food. So anytime I have that chance, and a lot of times it's in a community garden that I'm able to show people the edible weeds or just the trees. Like I'm looking at a medicinal tree right now, the desert willow. It's beautiful. It has beautiful lavender, some pinkish lavender flowers, and that's very useful. It's very useful for lung conditions. So yes.
What part of it?
The leaves mainly, a little bit of bark. I guess bark.
And it's big on wound treatment too.
Yeah.
It's especially for
What?
deep
And that's
puncture.
right across from here. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's what you make the poultice out of.
I'm so excited for you guys. to
And
see
the
the community
flowers,
garden.
you can just eat the flowers or make a tea or something. There's various things you can do.
Wow.
But one thing about when I first learned about it, it was for, what is it? Oh, valley fever. We have something called valley fever here that this is very useful in. But I am thankful to be here, and I wasn't even sure. It's like, I love the idea of being a part of this, so I wasn't sure why. But once you come to something like this, you go, oh, now I know, and I'm glad. It's hard to pull yourself away when right now it's our planting season down in the low elevation, like end of September, 1st of October. I'm planting right up to the moment that I'm getting ready to come out here. And I'll plant some more when I get back. So
This is critical time.
it is.
Yeah.
But yes, the drive is beautiful. If you haven't been here, you have to come.
Oh, yeah.
The desert is so green and mountains are so beautiful.
We seem to be finding ourselves drawn to Superior more and more.
So one more thing. 3 years ago, at the Prickly Pear Festival is when Mike and I met.
Prickly Pear.
We met.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can meet
That's
some
right.
fine girls at the Prickly Pear Festival.
Man, I
is my
gotta-
experience.
That was great.
There's a shop in Wicklow Mountains. That
He's
is really good.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Nice.
That's true.
Yeah.
Me and my friend.
Yeah.
But I thought he was
She was fun. So. So are we passing now?
I don't know. I think if you guys just want to have a conversation, I can mirror board some stuff. But yeah, I'm curious what you're up to. From my side, I guess I'm more digital world rather than physical world. I have a room here in Portugal. Not much land to do anything on, although maybe outside we'll copy some Lear gardens.
I hope you get a little garden. So if you're happy for us, that'd be
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
And if you play like a witnesser tracker kind of role, that'd be very helpful for us if you're up for that, brother.
So perfect.
And we'll just talk about what we're doing.
All right.
And like, yeah, the local context. Go ahead, Chris. Sorry, my bad.
Thanks, man. So there's this axiom that says something like culture and connection before vision and strategy. So like the us being together is like from that emerges like the best possible like vision that we can share with each other because it emerges from us being together. So, you know, I'm just conscientious of the fact that once we go down the instrument line of like, okay, like what we need to think, I think a product would be you have a spec that you could use to then come back with a device that works.
Or maybe a skeleton of a spec, maybe a framework of a spec.
Excellent. I mean, great. Okay. Sketch of a spec.
Yeah,
If we come out
Yeah.
today with a sketch of a spec,
Yeah.
that would be good for all of us, it sounds like. So
Yeah.
that's a shared aim that we have. So like we're thinking, okay, like we're here together now, like we can slide from like we're in like the most like we're going from informal to formal like right now. And so that's fine because like we only have limited time, right? So maybe that's a good thing to check with duration, like how much time do y'all have? Because we want you to see the garden.
we don't have a schedule, do we?
No,
We don't have a schedule.
We're here.
Yeah, we're here. Here we are.
All right,
End of
We're not
schedule.
gonna rush off.
right on.
Long as there's another
Thankfully,
camera. No,
we
I'm
don't
kidding.
have to rush off.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
great.
kind of unusual for us that we don't
That's
have
great.
to rush right off. So yeah, enjoy the moment.
Nice. Wonderful. Okay, that's good. So then I think that then we can just like talk and be together and see what happens. And then at some point go to the garden. You
Yeah.
know, when we're done eating here, and put eyes on the place. We'll take you with us, Josh, if we can. When we go mobile. So I think that'd be a good thing that we want to do. Right?
Nice.
Get eyes on it. Cool. I can tell you a little bit. I can do some context setting of like what's gone on, where we're at, some of that stuff. Yeah, and then based on that, we can start talking about instrumentation.
Yep.
Cool. Okay. So we've been using the lunar cycles. That's a big way of how we like keep track of what we're doing. So we've been getting a Lear up and running, or at least close to it, every lunar cycle since we started. We began April 30th. It's like our first. That was the new moon that we're like, okay, let's go.
And here we are at full moon.
And here we are, right? And so the full moon's like the halfway point. Like, did you get your shit done? Like, where are you at? Where are you at? This is the diligence period. And so, like, how are we doing? You see, we have all the materials for the Lear. That's like a major. It's like so annoying for us to get materials being in a small town. So we need to have those in place before the full moon, no doubt. And we need to start working on building out our 6th garden. This is bed
Wow.
6.
I did not know that.
Some of them we got donated in like that needed to be refurbished.
Ooh.
Yeah, so we did some refurbs of some of those of the 6 we're talking about. But now we have like the standalone version that's like an 8 by 4 Lear garden, and that's like within its own system. It's not connected to other beds. It's its own deal. And when we talked with Mary Martha, she's like, I just need a timer. I don't need any kind of this or that, whatever. I still think that it'd be dope to have one for other reasons that we don't yet know, but whatever. She says, I think there'd be more value in doing it at the garden site where we have multiple valves and multiple beds. She's like, let's get into the multi-bed manageability. So that's where I think we can focus in on. We have 3 beds with 1 pump. one shared water source for that.
Mhm.
And if we can have a bed 1, bed 2, bed 3 for this time, turn this off, water this one more, water this one less, kind of functionality, that's going to help us out a lot.
My first thought is that we don't necessarily need a 3-bed solution. I think we need an n-bed solution.
Say more.
You know, in other words, if we just have individual valves.
Oh, I see. End bed. Okay.
And-
Yeah.
N
Yeah.
bed solution rather than a
Much more
3-bed
helpful.
solution.
Yep.
And we just have 3 valves going into our app, and we can add and subtract valves at
Oh.
will,
Nice. That's great.
rather than a 3-bed solution, which isn't
Yeah.
going to help us when we need our 5th. or
Right. What
7th.
about for bed 4? Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
hear
I
you.
think we need a single valve
That's good.
that simply connects, possibly physically, but certainly
Through the
electronically
system.
to all the
Yeah.
other players, which
Okay.
isn't always valves, right? There's also going to be sensors involved too.
Definitely.
At some point, you know,
Oh,
like
yeah.
for my case, I really need to have a sensor on the water level because I keep spilling water, you know, and then the fish are like gasping, you know, and etc. So anyway, so I think that,
Our pond needs a water level.
yeah. And the one, I've only done one Lear garden so far with a timer. I did a timer for the Lear garden.
Oh.
And we did not have a sensor on the water level. And it caused nothing but problems because the water level kept having problems because of the way the float valves were installed and whatever, yada, yada, I don't know, something. Anyway, it's a mechanical thing, so I neither know nor care. But not true. But anyway, the point is, yeah, had the valves is one thing, but there's going to be an
Sensors.
unlimited
And
sort of
sensors.
number of dimensions, the sensors and other things. Power sources could be another dimension to this.
Dimension.
Like if we
power
have
sources.
if we have a
for
solar powered
sure. Yes.
system
Yeah.
at
right.
some more remote site,
Uh-huh.
we're going to want to monitor the power level and things of that nature, or you know, the charge level and things of that nature. So what we really need is we really need all of these components to be very component. We need these things to all be components, not
Yeah.
no part of this is a standalone system, even when it is.
Yeah.
If it is a standalone system, it's just a system of one component, but it can be a system of n components.
Got it. Yeah.
So I think we want to keep that in mind from day one. From the
Thank you.
very
you.
beginning, we want
Yeah.
to have this
That's
thing
good.
be,
I-
and that way it can be applied in Portugal and India and wherever else,
Right.
just without much thought,
Right.
you know? As
Yeah.
long as it really is successful in
Right.
that way,
Right.
it can be applied all over Arizona and globally. And it's so simple. I mean, the whole point is to make it each individual piece so simple.
Yeah.
So, and cheap.
Right. Okay.
See?
So then let's say for us to have Arduino that would control N valves, but in this case, we will need it for 3 and maybe more later.
But it would be, what we would do is have an Arduino, a basic Arduino, if you have it kind of rigged up to do various things, probably it doesn't do many more than 3 on its own anyway. But that whole thing costs, I mean, I'm paying $1.50 for Arduino.
$1.50.
Yes. So
Jeez.
the point is,
I thought a Raspberry Pi was cheap.
no, that's why I use Arduinos,
Dang.
because Raspberry Pi is way too expensive for me, because I am cheap. I'm all about doing this cheap. So you don't have to think too much about stuff. You could just make it do one and then buy 3 of them for $4.50. Now, there's more to it than just the Arduino. There's this little board that I make, which is another $1 or $2, you know, literally. And the valve is the only expensive part.
Yeah.
And it
You
and the
sent
cost,
me you sent me the valve, it was like $17 or something.
if we buy retail at that level.
Right.
We buy them one
Uh-huh.
at a time, you know, retail, then and a
I see.
decent one.
Right.
But that's the only expensive thing in the whole thing, and it doesn't matter how many are on this. So I'm still thinking probably our little Arduino is probably gonna run 1. And it's just gonna talk to the others and talk to our app. And that way,
Per valve, you mean?
yeah, more or less it's simpler, maybe 2, maybe 3, but
But that's
it's
fine,
just as
because
easy
they're
to
so cheap
think
anyway,
of the
you might as well have-
individual
Right,
component.
as a component, the
'Cause the-
Arduino itself is an instantiation of a component.
And if we can make a cheaper valve, now, and this is an area I intend to struggle in at least. Now, we're going to start off with purchase off the shelf valves, commercial
Sure,
off the shelf
sure.
valves. But if we can make a cheaper valve, that's when we really can talk about using it in India and wherever,
Yeah.
you know, and for that matter, everywhere else in Arizona and everywhere else. And I do have some ideas about that because the
Oh,
whole
really?
issue
Ooh, this is interesting.
with valves and drip irrigation in general is clogging.
Yeah.
You know, the
Sure.
whole issue is a cheap valve wants to not close all the way because it gets sand in it. And the same goes for all our drip irrigation systems and so forth.
So you think it's closed, but it's not.
Yeah, and or yeah, basically, or some part of it breaks, right?
Yeah.
The thread comes, you know, the stem gets loose and starts dripping out of the stem and stuff like this. And so what I'm thinking, if we did, and this would not be phase one, but I would love to experiment with some valve ideas because my idea about valves is if we can 3D print a little holder with a flexible tube in it and a little solenoid, because again, solenoids, little gear motors, or not solenoids, little gear motors can be obtained, little ones, for a couple of dollars. And if we just have a flexible tube that gets pinched, there's nothing to fail. The flexible tube, as long as you have a tube that's going to be flexible and isn't going to be hardened by UV, seems to me we could have a very, very cheap valve that's going to basically work as long as that little motor works, and we simply replace it if the motor ever fails. And I think it will be more reliable than a hand valve, because a hand valve is
That sounds cool.
so somewhere down the line, I want to take a stab at making our own valves, because if
Cool,
the
cool,
reward for that,
Cool.
if we succeed, is very great, because that is one of the problems on Earth.
Sure.
That is one of the problems, because all the people out there doing permaculture all want to do drip irrigation, and they're all getting plugged up by sand. Jeffrey Lawton had that on his
Oh,
first,
for real?
when he went back to his place where he had first started in Jordan, wherever, he found that all the system was almost abandoned because they had so much sand in all the plugs, in all the holes. So I really want to come up with things that open and close without being affected by sand, and it costs something like 10% of what we pay for valves nowadays.
Heck yeah.
Because once we have cheap valves and we have cheap ways to run them, then we can throw these gardens together that take care of themselves,
Right.
and life is good.
So how about for pond liners? Because I'm like having to go on like fucking Amazon to buy fucking pond liner, and I'm like, this is
How much
what-
do you need?
What am I doing? I mean, on a 8x4 bed, we need, you know, more clearance. It's like, let's say, 10 by something.
What about,
Well,
used, free, swimming pool liner?
Oh, interesting.
Rather than building a bed,
Yeah,
just
that
go
would
with what about
I
just
haven't thought
going,
of that.
what about just going with a kiddie pool? Costs about $2, $5, whatever.
What?
Say more about the kiddie.
Rather than building a bed,
Uh-huh.
what if you just use a kiddie pool instead of a bed? Something with the same volume. Costs a few dollars and you've got a water container. No pond
Oh,
liner.
no, I'm super into the kiddie pool as the water container, but for the pond liner, I'm speaking of inside the Lear garden, like inside the wooden frame,
Uh-huh.
you know?
Yeah, because I guess you have, in future Lear gardens, you have to build it in a rectangular frame. And can the kiddie
Mhm.
pool just be the Lear garden
Mhm.
for a matter of a few dollars?
Mhm.
And now all that lumber cost is gone,
Mhm.
and all the pond liner cost is gone, and off you go.
Not bad.
I think it's
Not
a 90% reduction in your structural costs.
Yeah.
With no actual loss of, and you might have to replace it in a few years. Okay, so what?
Well, you have to replace the lumber. in
Exactly.
Some years anyway.
Exactly. I made my grow bed out of I found some doors in a construction dumpster. And I cut them lengthways. She found the doors in the construction dumpster. Peggy is the most elegant and beautiful. We were going out on a date, and she's dressed up in a dress with high heels, bent over the construction dumpster, and I do have pictures. So,
That is
anyway,
adorable.
it is.
That
It
is
was absolutely adorable. Anyway, the point
Right
is,
on.
I cut them lengthways and mounted them, and that's my grow bed. You know, and
Nice.
so I
Right.
would recommend that we not buy any lumber. I would
Yeah, I
recommend
like
we
where
use
this is
scrap.
There is so much out there.
Yeah,
These new homes being built.
yeah, yeah. And they throw all that stuff
Yeah.
away, man.
I know all the time.
Throw it
I'm
away.
wishing that I had a trailer, my trailer, so that I could,
Yeah.
talk with them.
And if we ever did, since you're in the position of being a 501c3, if you contacted, and if you have people with time on their hands to contact any of these, preferably at the general level contractors, but maybe even subcontractors, they will be very happy for you to take trash off their hands, that they could then write that they had donated $100 worth of lumber, right? Which they were in the process of throwing out, spending money to throw out. They will be thrilled for you to come by and liberate some lumber and pipe and EMT and even
Food.
roof tiles. All of these things are going to be useful, right? You can take your
I
roof
like
tiles to make a, if you had Spanish roof tiles, you can make a water channel out of them and all this stuff. So I would recommend
Yeah.
being like Peggy
that's good thinking.
and getting into that. But with your you have a 501c3, so yeah, they'll love to hear from you. They'll be thrilled.
Great idea.
Or just put out there,
And once you get known, you're gonna be
what you want.
Yeah, right.
You're gonna be like
Yeah,
Habitat for
yeah.
Humanity in terms of you're gonna have these building supplies that you can give to people in the community.
Man, the building supply thing would really be helpful. I mean, when I look
And
at
they-
like, what our costs are, we're paying more in like lumber.
And they throw
more
this stuff
than like
out.
anything else.
They literally throw it out.
And
You know.
and I've gotten free lumber from Home Depot.
We also
Really?
we're
They
constantly.
have just it's random, but
They, and they also have the thing out front, which has 10 cents on the dollar lumber, and it's all warped and stuff, but a lot of
Oh,
times
right.
it works fine. But anyway, that's kind of the way I like to think. We also are constantly picking up used pavers and concrete blocks on Craigslist.
No.
We're constantly getting loads of those things, because that's how we're building our sunken greenhouse right now. We're right in the middle of construction on our sunken greenhouse. And most of it we've bought off Craigslist for like half price or less. Because people buy extra blocks and then they want them out of their yard,
Right.
and they're happy to see you come get them.
This is great, and it's reminding me of this this Chinese stratagem I heard once called robbing the burning building.
Oh yeah, right. Robbing the burning building. I like it. That's brilliant.
It's like this whole capitalistic monster thing. It's like
Yeah.
it's definitely burning to the ground.
Wow.
And, we can get some lumber out of it. And
Yeah, why
that's
not?
a couple of it, and-
Yeah, that's how it is, right?
Yeah, that's.
I mean,
really
in a Mad Max society, they're using old 747s and whatever,
Figuring it
right?
out.
Right,
acceptation.
Yeah.
The reuse, the radical reusage.
right, right.
Okay.
So
I like-
anyway,
I like where you go with that. So I like the idea of each Arduino like having its own connection with the valve, and that's a component, and it's
simplest,
like part of a network of components.
it's the simplest possible deal, because otherwise you're gonna have wires going to the valves,
Yeah,
and that's a major point of failure.
it is.
That's probably your number one point of failure.
Yeah.
Is the wire to the valve.
Right.
So if every valve is just its own thing, now my Arduinos, when I finish them normally, they're the shape and size of a hockey puck, completely encased in epoxy,
Oh, sick.
with a solar cell built in.
Ooh.
So the point is, there's no power connection, which is another major point of failure, right?
Dang.
Because the power connection is, again, the point where you plug in that DC plug when there's going to be a failure. Chances are probably 50-50. That's where the failure is going to be. The wires that go onto it. So if we build the valve in, we build the solar panel in, and we put the whole thing in case in epoxy
Hola.
or some other resin.
Hola, ¿está abierto?
Hey, see,
Are you a store?
we're a community center.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah, you're welcome to come in.
We're just looking around Superior because we're interested in Superior.
Nice.
We live in Dallas.
Oh yeah, right on. Yeah, this used to be an old grocery store. Hi there.
Hey, I'm Grant. My
Mr.
son's
Jerry. Very nice to meet you.
Hello.
Hey there.
You guys into gardening or anything? We're talking about a community garden.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're talking about computers and electronics for it, if you're into that. If you're into any of these
And we're
things,
having a global conversation with people in Portugal and India.
right there.
Whoa, that's.
They're right there. You can say hi if you
No,
want.
right, no, here.
Oh,
Over here, over here.
Yeah.
Hi.
There it is.
We're local. We're city boys.
Nice, that's cool.
Yeah, we're just, we've been, backing around.
Nice.
That's cool.
I love the area, just the
Yeah.
topography and the altitude and the canyons. It's
We
awesome stuff.
appreciate those who appreciate this place.
And we talk about someday if we could, just get a little house up here. We know they're cheap. If you know.
Get them while they're cheap.
Yeah, because.
Buy 10.
Wait,
They
they used to be $65,000 here for a house, and like they sit around and don't buy them.
Yeah,
And now
right.
things have definitely changed.
Is it like, you get to 2 yet?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
And I know they need work and everything.
Yeah, and it's like, anyway, the whole gentrification thing, it's like, we're trying to do our part to make our town as good as we can for
Right.
us to be like, for our neighborhood to be reliant on our neighborhood, you know?
Mhm.
So part of what we're working on with all of these beautiful human beings is how Superior can be more resilient, self-reliant, and a benefit to places beyond just Superior.
Well, I like the way you think.
All right,
Yeah, we'll be gardening down in the valley for sure.
that's cool.
And I'm learning on the job.
There you go.
Daughter just moved into a house, got a big backyard and
All right.
so it's like. Eggs,
Here we
eggs,
go.
planting, growing and they turned into.
Do you have a planting calendar for the Low Desert?
No, it's gonna have urban
It's
farm.
easy to get one.
Yeah,
Of course, U of A or the
Extension,
extension,
cooperative extension
on-
down here on
online.
Broadway
Uh-huh.
in Tempe.
but also,
Phoenix.
I don't have it with me, but
Mhm.
yeah, urban farm.
Urbanfarm.org
oh, okay.
has
That's
a
easy to
planting
remember.
calendar
Okay.
for Phoenix.
Yeah.
And it's authoritative. It's people who really do it. It's not some
Nice.
random thing from a book.
Yeah, I'm learning on the job as I plant, dig, but it's, gosh, good time of year. You guys, worry or think about is it the Oak Flat mine?
Oh, yeah.
Is is it gonna happen?
Well, it depends on who you ask, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
my hope is that it stays in limbo for decades and decades and
Yeah.
decades and decades.
Yeah.
And that's a
Maybe-
realistic hope.
maybe centuries instead. I would just
Yeah.
like it to just be like, oh, we don't know for like a long time.
Yeah,
That'd be fine with
so
me.
you don't need copper anymore.
Yeah, and at the same time, like
Well, they
it'll
can
still,
have a better way.
it'll still employ
Yeah.
people in the process. It's crazy. They're willing to just like sit on it and dump a bunch of money and like pay people that live here to work there. Fine, okay. So, I mean, I value water more than copper. So there's that. But this is some information about who we are. We're a nonprofit here, so you can get our info, and you're welcome to check out what we have going on or like be a participant in the conversation. But to y'all,
Cool.
you're here.
Good to meet y'all.
Yeah.
Fans, carry on the good work.
Cool.
so much. We're all on the same tribe.
Bendiciones,
Guys,
agreed.
guys.
Yep. Ciao, ciao.
Love when people walk in here.
Yeah.
Rishi and Josh are very patiently waiting.
Dude, I know. You guys doing all right over there?
Still there?
How are y'all holding up?
Hello, 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 hello.
Yeah. I mean, most of the technical stuff goes over my head, definitely. But I'm looking at Josh's notes and keeping up with that.
All right.
It's helpful to have notes.
Yeah,
So sick.
yeah, I'm happy. It's just having a cigarette in the doorway, so it's chill. But I'm keeping up with you. I've got a range of notes from the end number of beds down to solar panels, down to wires in the valve, this kind of stuff. We'll make sense of it after. So, it's just,
And what I was talking about was the individual units are encased in resin so that they're waterproof and shockproof. And the valve can be encased in that same resin.
Nice.
So at that point, we've lowered our points of failure down fairly close to zero.
Nice.
And I also make it a point to not use electrolytic capacitors, to only use ceramic capacitors and things like that, so that we don't have things with low life cycles. So that really these things should be able to just sit there and do their thing for a long, long, long time.
Nice. Okay, so then I'm picturing an Arduino for the pump, and one for the water tank, and one for the bed, or one for the valve,
Yeah,
and one for the something else.
right. Now, if 3 valves are close together, we could make a 3-valve single block. Right?
Oh, cool.
Or
I see. I'm
We could,
following.
or if there's any separation at all, we're better off to have 1 valve
Yeah,
blocks.
yeah. I think that's
And
cool.
because what we don't want is wires.
Don't worry.
Wires is going to get chewed, they're going to get broke, they're going to get tripped over. So this Arduino has
This is
probably an
so sick.
HC12, which is an RF communications module built in.
Mhm.
It goes to a single unit somewhere in the facility that talks to all the Arduinos.
Yeah, that'd be a phone.
Because it's
Should that be
cheaper
a-
than going, no, well, that would
Another
go
Arduino.
to, that is a master Arduino. That's just a communications point. It'll
I
have a
see.
Bluetooth or a Wi-Fi.
Sick.
But we don't want Bluetooth and Wi-Fi in each Arduino because there's too much expense there.
Yeah.
An AC12 is another
Mhm.
thing that costs $1.
So the
So
RF.
we're starting to add up all these dollars, but still, the point is, if we can keep the dollars under 20 for the finished little unit that has everything we want, and individual cheap ones are only $1 or $2, it becomes an affordable solution
Yeah.
that allows us to not have to be at the garden every day.
Nice. Or when we can, we're just chilling and everything's cool.
Yeah, and you're working about other things while the garden waters itself. And another part of the watering is we do want to have moisture sensing in the ground. So that when it
Nice.
rains, it's not dumping water in when it rains and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And so, if at all possible, and again, moisture sensors are another $1 item.
Nice.
Now there's a wire involved there, but it can be a stake. And the Arduino can be mounted on the stake,
Mhm.
so that the
Okay.
bottom of the stake is the moisture sensor and the top of the stake is the solar panel, and the Arduino is sitting in the middle
Wire in
with a
between.
valve for that area of the bed.
Sick.
But we may need more moisture sensors around.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
Yeah, so
I
there
say
could
let's
be
just
individual
go.
Arduinos that are just a moisture sensor. There could be,
Mhm.
just as there could be
Yeah.
individual Arduinos that
It's
are
some
just a
component.
tank level indicator. you know?
Yeah, right.
And the tank level indicators, we generally just go with ultrasonic because no mechanical devices. Because again, we're really, really trying hard to eliminate points of failure.
Mhm.
And a float is a mechanical device that will get corroded and gunked up with minerals and yada, yada, yada. So we want a little ultrasound unit that sits in the top of the tank, and we just calibrate it for where full and where empty is. And then it just sits there and does its thing forever. So these are the concepts that I have. And,
Love it.
And what we're needing to do to make our first sketch of a spec is you already started with 3 valves.
Yeah.
So our first system is going to have 3. You started to say it. In fact, our first system had 3 valves and a water pump. And that's where we're starting to make a spec.
Yeah, okay, we got the pump, an eventual aerator. I mean, ideally, we would find we need to source a solar pump and a solar aerator solution. Currently, we're using.
Well, I'll tell you about aeration.
Electricity.
What I do for aeration is I run the pump in a little hose into a bigger hose, into a piece of tubing. And then what happens is the water coming into the tubing creates a venturi that sucks the air into the tubing. So when the water finally hits its destination, it's full of air, it's aerated for free without an aerator. So all you need is a bigger piece of tubing that your pump hose goes into, and that will suck all the air you need. And I monitor my oxygen levels, and I can see that they're very good.
We wanted to do it for the oxygen levels and also to deter the mosquitoes.
Right.
Just have some.
Right.
How do we get the disturbance?
Exactly that, because the water is entering the tank wherever it's entering
But only when you're
From
only when you're pumping it.
when you're pumping. Yeah.
we're,
Now, if you
we're
need
not
to,
pumping.
if
for
you
now.
need to agitate the water, then you
Yeah.
won't get with that
Yeah.
solution.
Yeah, we need
But
a
you can
lot of
also
water.
leave the pump, have a small pump that stays running. And just whenever it hits the other end, just what I'm doing with mine is I just pump it back. I just run it down for a long time and then a fast pump that pumps it back. And that way everything is circulating. But that's because it's aquaponics. that I'm
Right, I was
talking
gonna say,
about, which is
we're-
sort of like what we're talking about.
But
but different.
because we have to not overwater a bed.
Right,
you know,
right.
It's like you gotta be all careful with like the moisture levels, but
So yeah, but the agitation.
Yeah.
Would be, I would suggest, depending on how big a one you need, those little aquarium ones work great and they're cheap. They're single digit numbers.
nice.
And I have
Okay.
one in my car, actually.
So we can have
Right
one
now,
of those.
there's
with
one
a
in my car
microwave,
because I
no
bought
kidding.
one.
Nice.
Just plug it in and leave it there. It'll just sit there and run forever.
Boom.
When it stops running, you get another one.
And will it is it low weight enough electric wise that it would be able to
Oh, nearly nothing.
like we could use like a solar unit?
I plugged it in my car yesterday to transport tilapia. And on my little inverter that reads how many watts it's drawing, it said 0. It couldn't find any watts. while it was pumping air, because it's like this big, you know, and it's just going, right? And it I don't know what the minimum reading is, but whatever it was below it, because my inverter said it was drawing 0 watts while it was sitting there running. So it must be like 1 or 2 watts or something like that.
That's incredible.
It's just a little aquarium air pump, you know, and you can
Awesome.
literally put in like 3 of them. I would probably say get 3 of them because they're so cheap, and that way one's going to stay running, you know, and just depending on how big of a tank you have, yeah, that'll do its job. Give your aeration for no money.
Helpful, because we need to solve that, like, so we just get is there a certain panel that you recommend we get, or, because like we need to find some kind of way to pull the solar in, right? Like,
Well,
That's-
if we're gonna drive our pump and everything,
yeah,
let's just give me a watts on the pump, watts or horsepower or any other number.
what is it? I think it's, let's say it's a little over 650 gallons an hour.
Very
or
low,
something.
extremely low. You're talking about a solar panel yay big.
Really? Oh, nice.
And the issue is, do you need it to run at night? In which case we need a battery, which is gonna cost.
I mean, evening would be ideal, or morning.
Well, the point is this, but if you do just a solar panel and no battery, then you need daylight.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
And so, you decide if you wanna add the battery into the picture and how long you want it to run at night. And questions like that.
Less than 15 minutes.
Right, so a pretty small battery. Plus, it helps to have a battery for those rare times in Arizona when we have several cloudy days in a
That
row.
would be kind of sick if we had a little bit.
Yeah,
That'd be cool.
yeah, a little battery like that is $50.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. So, batteries like all solar things are still going down in price, real ones. Now, there's a lot of people raising their solar prices because they can, but it's bull because the actual prices are going down. Still, all batteries, all solar panels, all of them are all dropping in price, and they haven't stopped dropping even through inflation.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's very cheap and simple to do.
Awesome.
And that way, if you get a nice little battery, then it can run for a few days, you know, with clouds, because that's gonna happen.
Right.
And if it ever does happen where it just gets cloudy and cloudy and cloudy, what you can do is get a second battery and charge it up at home and swap it out on the third or fourth
Oh,
cloudy day.
that's a good idea. That's
And that way
genius.
you can just keep it going for no
Nice.
money.
Cool.
Because otherwise, it's like, what do we do?
Right.
You know, they're all gonna die. No,
Yeah.
just have a second battery and
Yeah.
swap it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. So, then I think what we can do, if we're feeling good about seeing the land, the
Yeah.
we want to talk about before we go there, but I'd say that's like where we should be vectoring towards.
Good. One little comment about your current beer garden with your current materials. You want to get pond liner?
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and give you the one. I have this gigantic roll of pond liner, which is more than I need. Well, one little 10 by 15 is a very small percentage of the pond liner we have.
Wow.
So that
Dang.
10 by 15 is that
That'll
what you
work.
said?
Yeah, something like that.
I
will
think
work.
it's 16 wide.
That's
So we'll take a 10-foot piece of that
it's
and
the bed that we have is an 8x4.
give
So we
me,
just like
go
have
ahead and
like
give
what,
me,
8?
in the next couple days, just give me a final determination
It's
of
like
what
a
dimension you want.
like an 8x12 would do it.
And
You know.
that one you can have. And this is actually coming from my father, who bought this pond liner
Very
in
expensive.
1970.
Whoa.
Jimmy,
And it has been saved ever since, and it is in brand new condition.
Whoa.
And I have a roll that is gonna last me through my whole project. I mean, it takes 2 of us to pick it up.
That's expensive stuff.
It is a lot of money, and I inherited it. So I'm
Jeez.
passing one part of it from my dad to you.
That is very
Oh,
sweet. Thank you. Yeah.
Yay.
Wow.
He would like
Yes,
it.
yes.
He would appreciate it.
Nice.
8x12.
8 by 12. We're gonna start. If you change that, just let me know before the next time we see you.
Nice.
When do you
Wow.
intend to build it? Do you have a schedule per se?
Well, okay, so the 8x12, we don't have a schedule on. We are doing, the next one that we're building is going to be a 16 by 4. So it's gonna be a bigger one. We have a
Well, just tell us whatever it is you're
But I don't
doing
wanna- I
next
don't-
and when you're doing. it.
Well, the
Just
next
tell
one's a
us-
bigger one, that's why I didn't say. it,
But
'cause I
just
wanna
tell
do
us when it
homework.
is and let me look and see, because 16 is what I have. I think it's 16 feet wide.
Yeah,
It's like 8 feet wide, but it unfolds and unfolds and unfolds.
Oh,
you know,
right.
it's one of those
Uh-huh.
in the roll. It's a big old roll and it unfolds.
okay, well, I'll send some stuff over.
Figure
let
it
you
out.
know, And then you guys decide which one.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Just
two
tell us
different-
what
two
you
different
need and when you
options.
need it, and then
Thank
after
you.
that, we'll sell it to
Jeez.
you at a nice price after the first one. I said I'm getting you a hook with the first one. Then you'll be.
Hey, I'm all about it.
I'm using
Yeah.
drug dealers.
Same thing with the
you know,
Arduino.
approach.
You're gonna hook
Yes,
us
yeah,
with those
yeah, I
too.
know.
We're gonna go. We need one for the pump. We need one for the moisture sensor. And that's why I would make. I'm into
$5,
it.
10, $20.
Right.
You guys are getting the cost from here.
That's what's sick about.
You're also gonna sell them like crazy. That's what
Yeah, I know that's gonna be
That's
awesome.
my
when we
humble
figure it
opinion.
out.
You're
No, I
gonna-
think you're right.
And so is
Yeah.
Josh and Rishi in my humble opinion.
Well, hopefully, is there a way that we can all be ready to process?
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You buy them from me and sell them to whoever, including especially in India and Portugal, and
Nice.
just saying,
Cool.
just
You
saying.
want these to get out there.
I want them to go into the world. That's the point.
Nice.
Because I want to help homesteaders here.
Help homesteaders.
I'm calling these homestead electronics modules.
Sick. Oh man, I want to buy 10 of them. Just want to.
That's it. That's what I'm talking about. Anyway, okay, so I just wanted to make it online.
Goodness,
We
good.
can now most.
Thanks. Okay, before we do, I'm gonna I'll switch over on the computer just to show you a couple different site plans that we're playing with as far as
Okay.
ideas.
Uh-huh.
Because part of what we're looking for is to get our site plan designed so we can move forward with like a lot of things. Without the design, we're very gun shy to do a lot of things. So,
That sounds familiar, doesn't it? We have the same thing. We're trying to think of a design for our whole 10 acres.
oh right, okay. Well, this is a much smaller space, so we're gonna switch up the medium here. I've got a Miro board. Just stored. So here's where a lot of stuff that we have going on is going on. Like, let's go into the Fed Wiki.
Let's share your screen.
Yeah, I will do that. Good idea. Let's.
That's top, man.
Cool. Cheers. Okay, let's get this board. Come on, baby, to the locomotion.
Oh, boy.
Come
All right.
on, baby, to the.
If you dump me the link, Chris, I can actually just chuck the post-its in there as well for you.
Say that again.
If you chuck us the link, I can add the post-it notes in there for you.
Oh, sick.
And chuck them on Web3 for
No,
life
that-
if you
that-
prefer.
oh, nice. I follow. Okay, cool. Thanks, man. Let's go to you, participant, Josh. Right click chat, more chat. Okay, paste. Where that go direct? Everybody. Okay. Mary Martha's is not loading just, but let's look at our, this is the space right here. It's a 221 North Pinal. We're actually gonna walk to this place
Okay,
together.
all right.
Right, here's Pinal. So, hello. Questions we have like Lear placement. We want to promote biodiversity. We're thinking about trees and plants. We want to do some water harvesting and sourcing. We have this locker that we need to put somewhere, and then we're thinking about like solar setup. We could add like valve control systems, Arduino units as another thing in here. But spatially, we've got this general idea. We have a current space here. This is like pretty much to scale, not these parts, but this space is for the most part, and this is definitely to scale. This is the new parcel that we just acquired. So you'll see we got 3 Lears here, and then this is the new space. So our question is like, how do we want these 2 spaces to work together? Like we're playing with this idea of a micro biocultural corridor through here. Part of the reason is that across the street from where this lot is, you have the tailing site of the mine, and it's like you got all this wildlife going on. You got tons of wildlife running, bunnies, javelina, coyotes, other things. So we're like thinking like, oh, this is really interesting how we like it end up being this run that connects these two spaces in some ways. So we're like thinking about all those critters, the bats, and everything else, and just kind of like being conscientious about how we want the space. So we're thinking like we want a fuck ton of trees. Maybe that's what we do or not do. But one question is just like from like you people who know permaculture stuff, like does it make sense to do trees like this? This is a 4-foot space with a 4-foot space in between and another tree of a 4-foot space. Yes, no, and then like what are your general thoughts? There's no considerations around water harvesting. I'm also understanding that you're just looking at an image right now. I'm almost doing this as a way, like if you have anything that jumps out to you now, please let us know, but hopefully you can hold the general spatial stuff in mind when we actually go to the site, because we're not wed to this by any means. It's just like one way that we could do it. In fact, there was another design that is in learning right now that Mary Martha has, of just a different kind of placement of where we put things. So if
Do you have a
anything-
printer? Old fashioned, and we could have a piece of paper in our hands.
Oh, a
What?
paper? No,
What?
no, we should and we don't.
Okay, well, we can bring this or something. or
Yeah.
Have it on a phone. Or
Yeah,
something
we're gonna
so
have
we can
to-
look at it. and
right.
understand.
Cool. Okay, we can do something. We can do something like that. All right.
One thought is trees, yes, you can plant them close together and you'll, choose ones that will work close together like that.
Uh-huh.
But I'm not so sure you want them on the south side of the garden. Those are gardens, right? That's the rear garden.
Yeah, these are all Lear gardens. Yeah, exactly.
Because you don't want to block.
It's gonna
the
block it.
sun.
Yeah, and then you the sun.
Mhm.
Yeah. I see. Okay.
But
Uh-huh.
that is,
Which
shade
is the
is,
south side?
shade is important.
North is like,
Shade is important, so there could be a trees. And if you plant them and there is too much, you can always trim them down and have more
yeah.
shorter trees on the south side, or thin them out and have not quite as many.
Right. We even start with more space between them where we have like maybe thicker here, thinner here, because this is gonna fight against our purposes. If I'm catching you.
Mhm.
One thing I set out to do is have part of the garden be a sun garden and part of it be a shade garden.
Ooh, I like where you're going with this.
And I guess the northern part would be more inclined to be the shade side,
Well, if you plant them on the outside, then it's not going to.
much at all. But if you plant it in the middle, it'll tend to shade towards the north
See,
a little bit.
we need shade in our garden in the valley. It's,
And they
we
still
need a
will
lot
here.
more.
The difference is there, but it's not huge. It's still more or
Up
less the
here,
same.
you have
I think you'll still want
This
some
is
shade.
this is the important stuff.
Some plants want to be shaded, right?
Yeah.
And some don't.
Yeah.
right? Maybe more don't want to be shaded. than do want to. I just read a thing the other day about cucumbers doing better with 30% shade than they did with 0 shade. And they did terrible with 60% shade.
Whoa,
But right about 30%. they produce the
whoa,
most, or whatever that's worth.
that's crazy.
But I think every plant's going to be different. But that just happened to be cucumbers.
That's crazy. So, ipso facto, we don't need to go further with this, but we just got
Yeah.
a sense of like, here's
What
an,
is the valve means?
this is a fire pit that's not to scale, but does exist there on the land.
And there's no fish or chickens or any animals involved.
Currently, no, but we do want fish involved. We have no water sources mapped out here, and we also don't have any kind of water harvesting methodology expressed here at all. And those are definitely additional considerations.
I have a comment on the getting water harvesting
Yeah.
for the trees, because back when I had showed you my design for the garden,
Mhm.
that was one issue. I was like, well, I'm working with the town council on the water project to
Mhm.
bring, they want to donate some kind of grant money to community projects, and if we can get involved in some kind of water harvesting project that we can present to them, we can, one, get funding for it, to get people that are knowledgeable about this kind of thing, that would want to help in this kind of project, but also trees. The one thing that I had saw a problem with is using recycled stormwater for edible food, but if the trees are not going to be edible, it might be probable that we could use runoff management to water the trees.
Okay, that's good.
Another way I've seen rainwater harvesting work, which might be considered okay for the garden, was that game and fish people scatter around the landscape in Arizona these water stations for wildlife.
Oh, right.
And what they do is, I only know of one because it's in the wilderness by our house. And it's a concrete pad, not any bigger than, say, from the whiteboard to the couch.
Yeah.
It's about this
Yeah.
size square. And then it just feeds into a little underground cistern. And that's it. And that thing's got water. I think they may bring it water. I don't know, but it keeps water a long time.
Wow.
There's a road. So, and they do that. They bring water to some of those. I don't know if they bring it to this one, but the point is if you look at an inch over this many square feet, you've got a fair bit of water. And if you get so many inches a year, you've got I wouldn't be surprised if you have a really significant percentage of your water needs covered in a space about yay big.
Dang.
This concrete. And then you can use that
Dang.
same concrete to have pots on and things,
Yeah.
whatever.
Right. Secure. things,
Mostly
too.
you wouldn't, mostly you keep it clean. But still, it doesn't have to be that clean. to Water the plants. Yeah, and see,
Nice.
yeah.
There we
right.
go. Perfect. Okay,
But
good.
sometime I'll show you a picture of that
Nice.
place, so we can look at it on Google Earth. and
Nice.
See it, but you can see exactly how they did it.
Nice. Right on. Cool. And in response to what you're saying too,
It's not
if
absolutely.
if we can come to them and say, this is what we're already doing, so fund us is way better than we'd
Yes.
like to do this
Yes.
if we had funding. It's just
yes.
like, this is what we're doing, fund it or not. And they're like, yeah, that's better.
It's
you
real.
know?
I've always believed in that.
So this is like giving them, a project. If we
And
could-
when you go to do concrete, one thing you don't have to do is order up a ready mix truck for a few $1,000s. Because for this kind of concrete, I make soil cement. So
Oh,
all
yeah.
you need to buy is sacks of Portland cement at $15 a sack, and that'll 3 or 4 sacks would do the whole thing.
Nice.
And a whole bunch of labor.
Right.
But I have a mixer. You
No-
know,
no
you can
way.
get a mixer, whatever.
Whoa.
But you can mix it up in a wheelbarrow. And
Right.
it'd be a couple days of pretty intense, you can advertise it as a workout program,
Yeah.
and not charge people too much for their workout and have
Right.
them come out and
Mhm,
wheelbarrow
mhm,
up,
mhm.
wheelbarrow down, wheelbarrow up, wheelbarrow down. All right. So anyway,
Nice. Thanks. That's good because we've been asking where we might put like a concrete pad because we have a locker that we want to
'Cause if it's-
somewhere.
yeah, I
So,
mean, you're not going to park any vehicles on it or anything. So, and you're not going to build a building on it. So it doesn't need any real strength. You need chicken wire and soil and Portland cement.